So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper in a very short span of time, within 20 minutes. Now, today we are going to be covering July 31st, 2024's newspaper. And the important news items or the important topics that are going to feature in this lecture are as following. So, here are the topics of the day. So we'll be covering five important topics because these were the five important news items that featured in today's newspapers. Okay. Number one was there was this landslide in Kerala's Wayanad district and other districts as well. But Wayanad was the most impacted because of heavy rainfall. There were landslides in this area. And there are a lot of tea estates also in this area. So it has caused widespread destruction and a loss of more than 100 people. So it's a very big tragedy. We are going to discuss this. Then recently, a report has been published in Lancet magazine, Global Magazine on Health, and they have said that they have found two new risk factors for dementia. Generally, old people get dementia. Now, why do they get dementia in old age? There are two other factors or reasons found out. Okay, so we'll be talking about them. Then recently, NCERT's PARAKH was in news, so we'll talk about NCERT's PARAKH initiative. What is it and what was in the news? Then there was this article in the Indian Express in the economics page section, and it was saying the budget proposal, this year's budget's proposal to hike security transaction tax. So for us, it is important to know what is security transaction tax and what are the proposals presented in this year's budget. Then various flights to Leh and Ladakh were cancelled. And why were they cancelled? Because of high temperatures and low air density in that region. So, how does high temperature impact flights, airplanes? We'll be talking about this issue. Okay. So, we have a packed session now from now on. So, therefore, please pay close attention to the lecture. All right. Without further ado, we'll be starting with topic number one, which is landslides in Kerala's Wayanad district. So, more than 100 people were killed after landslides swept through tea estates and homes in Kerala. Experts believe that it was the biggest landslide related disaster in Kerala. Kerala has never seen a bigger landslide related disaster in its history, at least in terms of casualties. Okay, more than 100 people are confirmed dead. Now, why do landslides happen? Look, we'll be taking into consideration the various causes behind landslides, but basically, landslides happen because when the top layer or the top soil, okay, which is connected to the bedrock or bottom layers of soil, their bond loosens. When their bond loosens and this topsoil is saturated with water, then it starts to flow over bedrock. Generally, this bedrock and topsoil are bound together. But when this bond breaks, then this topsoil falls off, starts to slide, and landslides happen. Okay, so weakening of the bond between soil and bedrock. Now, this generally occurs in hilly areas which are devoid of natural vegetation, natural forests. Because when natural forests are there, then those trees and the roots in those trees bind the topsoil. But when topsoil has gone, natural vegetation has gone, tree cover has gone, then this topsoil becomes loose, gets saturated with water during rainfall, and starts to flow. Hence, forest cover is important, especially in hilly areas. Okay. Now, what were the major causes? Okay, so three major causes have been identified for Kerala's disaster. Okay. Now remember, Kerala lies on the western side of Western Ghats. Okay. And the western part of Kerala is mostly hilly with steep slopes. So the western part of Kerala is the western portion of Western Ghats, and it has mountainous region and with steep slopes basically, generally used for tea estates. All right. Now, three major reasons are behind this disaster. First of all, heavy rains. Wayanad received 140 rainfall in the last 24 hours, which is about 5 times the data presented by Indian Meteorological Department. So 5 times more than expected rainfall happened. Then this region has fragile ecology. I've told you that areas where landslides happen quite frequently, prone to landslides, areas which are prone to landslides should be mountainous, should have steep slopes, and loose topsoil. Okay, that is the case with western region of Kerala. It has fragile ecology. Whole of western Kerala is a hilly terrain with sharp slopes. This region is vulnerable to landslides from monsoons every year. Every year landslides happen, but not to this extent. Okay. Plus, I've told you if natural forest cover is removed, then, well, nothing can bind the topsoil and it flows after rainfall. And that has been happening in this region of Kerala. Because of population pressures, because of farmlands and other activities, it has loosened topsoil layer which was bound tightly by vegetation cover. So because of these three reasons, this big disaster happened. All right? Make sense? Okay. Now let's move forward to the next news item, which is new risk factors for dementia. Now, Lancet is a global renowned medical journal. Okay, health related magazine, very famous and very renowned. All the big doctors refer to this. Okay, now this medical magazine actually commissioned a report known as 2024 Lancet Commission Report, and it has identified two new risk factors for dementia. Look, dementia is a disease that happens in old age, but the kind of lifestyle you have lived in your young age and middle ages determine your vulnerability to dementia in old age. Okay, now there are various bad habits that you can have which makes you more vulnerable to dementia once you cross 60 years of age, right? Of all those bad habits, two new bad habits or two new risk factors have been found out by Lancet. These two new risk factors are bad cholesterol. Okay, high levels of bad cholesterol during your young age and middle ages would make you more vulnerable to dementia. Now, bad cholesterol is also known as LDL. Remember its full form, low density lipoprotein. So, low density lipoprotein, also known as bad cholesterol, higher levels of LDL makes you more vulnerable to dementia. Then, if you're facing vision loss, okay, if your eyesight is weakening during young age and middle ages, and if you leave it untreated, you don't treat it, well, then also your risk for dementia increases. So these are the new two risk factors that have been identified by Lancet Commission. Now, these findings highlight the importance of managing cholesterol during your young or middle age and vision issues. Okay, so it highlights the importance of managing bad cholesterol. Now, this report is important because Lancet Commission report says that world population is aging rapidly. The entire world's population is aging rapidly, and dementia is an old age disease. So, as per this report, in 2019, there were 57 million people suffering from dementia globally. This is going to triple by 2050. Okay? Now, you guys must be thinking that what is dementia exactly? So, first of all, let's get that out of the way. First, let's discuss what is dementia. So, dementia basically is not a single disease. It is kind of a neurological or mental disease which is related to memory, thinking, social skills. So, if you're suffering from dementia, you'll be having memory loss, thinking or learning capabilities would get impacted, social skills would get impacted. Okay, the most prevalent form of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia in which you lose your memory, you lose your thinking skills. Okay, WHO, World Health Organization, ranked dementia as the seventh leading cause of death globally. Okay, so it's a dangerous disease. Remember, it happens to or generally occurs in people of old age, and old age would be 60 years or above. Okay, now what are some of the other facts related to dementia? Okay, now dementia in India, let's talk about that first. In India, dementia's prevalence among people aged above 60 is 7.4%, with an estimated 8.8 million people living with it. Okay, so 88 lakh people in India are suffering from dementia. In 2020, Lancet Commission gave us 12 risk factors for dementia. Okay, now they have added two more, but in 2020 they gave us 12 risk factors. They are low levels of education, hearing impairment, high blood pressure, smoking, obesity, depression, physical inactivity, lack of exercise, diabetes, alcohol, brain injury, social isolation. So in 2020, there were these 12 factors that are responsible for vulnerability towards dementia. Now in 2024, they have added two more. Okay. Now, Lancet Journal has also talked about how you can avoid dementia in your old age. So, what you should do now to avoid dementia in your old age? First of all, reduce your blood pressure, hypertension. Okay, detect LDL, reduce bad cholesterol, maintain a healthy weight. Okay, treat obesity, treat depression, exercise, smoking and drinking should be prohibited or limited. Air pollution, remove your or reduce your exposure to air pollution. All right. Okay, now let's straight away jump to topic number 3, which is NCERT's PARAKH. Now, what is NCERT's PARAKH? We'll talk about it, but let's first take a look at why this was in news. So, PARAKH is basically it is a standard setting body. Okay, PARAKH will examine what is the examination level all over the country. Okay, school level examination. Okay, school examination level all over the country, and would also set basic minimum standards. Okay, because in some states, board exams are very easy. State board exams. In some states, board exams are very difficult. So there is no parity. Okay, so people residing in states where board exams are easy have an unfair advantage or fair advantage. You never know. So NCERT's PARAKH actually wants to bring parity in school examinations all over the country and set some minimum standards so that these examinations all over the country are top notch. Okay. Now, before doing all of that, PARAKH actually conducted an exercise. Okay. It actually examined 17 school education boards, state boards. Okay. And it found that students in Tripura, Maharashtra, Goa, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal face tougher board examinations in class 10th and 12th, state board examinations, than other areas. Okay. Now, PARAKH actually gave this finding in its latest report called Establishing Equivalence Across Boards. So, all boards should be equivalent in difficulty. Okay. This was the name of the report. Remember this. And in this report, this finding was made public. Okay. Now, for us, what is important is we need to know what this PARAKH initiative is. Okay. So, first of all, you need to remember it was created by NCERT, National Council for Education, Research and Training. It was created by NCERT, and it is NCERT's first national assessment regulator. Boards examinations are national level or state level examinations, right? So PARAKH is for that. Full form of PARAKH is Performance Assessment Review Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. It aims to set up assessment guidelines for all boards. That all board examinations should follow these guidelines while they are setting papers. It was launched as a part of National Education Policy 2020, and it works on three major exams: large-scale exams like board exams, school-based exams, examination reforms. Okay, so this is your PARAKH initiative. Okay. Now let's jump to security transaction tax, hike in STT. Now, why was this in news? Because finance minister in her union budget speech proposed to double STT in futures and options trading. So futures and options are derivatives in stock market. Okay, these are derivatives of stock markets, and these are highly risky and highly speculative. Very high risk based investment options. These are futures and options. All right. Now, Indian RBI plus the Indian government saw that more and more people are moving towards this speculative form of trading, futures and options. So, to discourage people to move towards these speculative securities, Government of India or Finance Ministry actually proposed to increase security transaction tax on these derivatives, especially futures and options. They proposed to double STT so that because of high tax burden, people would trade less in these highly speculative exchange options, stock exchange securities. All right. Now, what is important for you? We'll discuss what are derivatives and what are futures and what are options some other day. But this topic is more focused on STT. So, what is STT? Security transaction tax. So, security transaction tax is a type of turnover tax where the investor is obliged to pay a tax on the total sum of money received or paid in a transaction done through an exchange. So, let's suppose there are 100 shares, okay, of let's suppose Tata, okay, and each share costs rupees 10, and you want to buy these 100 shares. So, how much amount would you pay? 1,000. And let's suppose security transaction tax is 1%. Okay, it means that for buying 100 shares, you transacted 1,000 rupees. On these 1,000 rupees, you'll have to pay 1% tax. That would amount to 10 rupees. So you have to pay 10 rupees to the government. Similarly, if you were selling these 100 shares, then you sold these 100 shares for 1,000 rupees. And let's suppose STT is 1%. So you'll sell these 1,000 shares, you'll receive, 100 shares, you'll receive this 1,000 rupees and you'll pay rupees 10 as STT. So STT is a type of tax on transactions of securities like shares, bonds, debentures and all that. Okay. It is applicable on buyer and seller both. Okay. And generally, it is applicable on transactions of shares, debentures, bonds, mutual funds, and derivatives like futures and options. It is not applicable on trading of commodities, trading of currencies, and trading done outside stock exchanges. Okay, this is it. Now, generally, security transaction tax is very low, 0.1%, 0.12%, like that. But it is still there, and it is quite high if you are trading in bulk. So if you are buying shares worth 2 crore rupees, then the security transaction tax would be high for you. Any which way. This is what security transaction tax is, and budget's proposal is to double it for future and options, not normal shares or mutual funds, only for futures and options, derivatives. Okay? Derivatives. All right. Now let's move on to our last news item, which is high temperatures in Leh. Now, sizzling daytime temperatures in Leh, Ladakh led to many flight cancellations. Very high temperatures were there in Leh and Ladakh. On Sunday, July 29th or 28th, temperature in Leh was this much, and this is very high for Leh and Ladakh standards. All right. Now, because of this, many flights were grounded. Now, why do high temperatures impact flights? For that, you need to know how flights travel or what's the science behind an airplane. Okay. For that, you need to be aware of Bernoulli's principle. All right. Now, look, each and every aircraft has wings, and these wings are like this. Okay. They have this shape. They are curved on the upward side and flat on the lower side. All right. Now, when these planes are moving on a runway, the air hits them over here. The air hits these wings. All right. Now, the air gets split. All right. The lower surface is flat, the higher surface is curved. So, the air has to travel more distance to reach here. Right. Now, the thing is that when the surface is curved, the speed of air is very high on the upper surface, the curved surface, than it is on the flatter surface. High speed creates low pressure, and low speed creates high pressure. So when the aircraft is running on a runway, right? When the aircraft is running on a runway, it generates very high speeds on the upper side, low speeds on the lower side. High speed causes low speed causes high pressure. So the pressure is high on the lower side and low on the upper side. This creates a difference in pressure and causes a lift. All right. The higher the speed on the upper side, the lower would be the pressure and the bigger would be the lift. That's why airplanes have to travel very fast on runways because they want to increase the speed. Now, this principle is known as Bernoulli's principle. Now, why does high temperature or how does high temperature impact this? Look, when temperature is high, the air becomes thin. When temperatures are high, the space between air becomes very large. Because of that, the speed, as you can see, high temperature expands the air, making it less dense or thinner, thus less upward thrust to the plane. Because not much air is traveling from here or here, so there is less temperature differential and lesser thrust. So, when air has higher temperature, then you require longer runways, very long runways, and you need to travel your aircraft for longer periods of time on the runway at very high speeds. Okay, and when the air density is low, as it is in Leh and Ladakh, but because of high temperature, also air density decreases. When density decreases, then air becomes thin. That means oxygen in the air also becomes thin. Now, oxygen is very important for the fuel to burn. Now, if air becomes less dense, then there is less oxygen, then less burning of fuel. Less burning of fuel would already generate less thrust. So that was happening in Leh and Ladakh. There were high temperatures because of global warming, and there was less density. So that is why this has happened. All right, make sense? I hope you understood this. But if you didn't, then still you have something to redeem yourself. You have the comment section below. You can post your doubt over there. All right. And with that, we come to the end of this lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. You can find out or you can get the notes of this lecture, detailed notes for each and every topic discussed in this lecture on our Telegram channel. So make sure you subscribe or check out our Telegram channel. The notes for this lecture would be shared over there. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. On that note, I'll be signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow with tomorrow's current affairs. Thank you.